Good morning. If you were to scroll through your Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram feeds right now, how many selfies would you see? More than most people would want, I'd wager. And as these self-portraits become ubiquitous, do you find yourself despising or embracing the selfie culture? As the war rages on, I thought today I'd look at the history of the self-portrait and discuss why people don't like the over-photographed self and my thoughts on the subject. Self-portraits have existed since antiquity, with examples in both ancient Egypt and Greece, and have continued ever since, growing in both the number of the people who create them and the actual number of portraits created. Albert Dyer is thought to be the first prolific self-portraitist, with at least 12 different portraits over the course of his life. Then there's Rembrandt, who was, up until modern times, probably the most prolific self-portraitist. He has somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 self-paintings. Side note, this number used to be thought of as about 90, but as it turns out, he would have his students copy his work. Talk about self-obsessed. I think Rembrandt, had he lived today, would be somebody who would be equally as selfie-obsessed as anybody. And of course, who can forget Vincent van Gogh, who painted himself some 37 times. Now, admittedly, there is some thought that these self-portraits exist because it was far cheaper to paint yourself than to hire somebody. If I had to choose between eating and hiring someone to be my subject, I'd probably paint myself too. Now, often these portraits were used to promote the artist, to show off the skill they had. And of course, this is still true today. I'm not sure I trust a photographer that had a bad self-portrait on his website. How can you take a good photo of me or my family if you can't take a good photo of yourself? Of course, the invention of the camera revolutionized the concept of the self-portrait, as now just about anybody could, to some extent, create a self-portrait. And then of course phone companies had to go and add cameras to phones, and well, the selfie just exploded. It begs the question, why is it that if some artist paints himself 30 times it's brilliant, but if I do the same thing with a camera, it's demeaning culture? The people often rallying against a selfie are people who dislike this self-involved generation, as if all previous generations only cared about others and gave no thought to themselves. Also, there's this fairly misguided notion that somehow you, copious taker of selfies, are hurting people who don't have the self-esteem that you have because they can't do what you do, which is ridiculous. Look, I'm all for trying not to make people feel bad, but I'm not gonna take the time to make sure my every action doesn't hurt someone else's feelings. And then there was a study done that showed that you hurt your real-life relationships by posting too many self-portraits. A study of 508 Facebook users. Now, I've not made a video on this yet, but I abhor studies, especially ones that use such a small margin with a user base somewhere north of 1 billion. That is too small a percentage to matter. The whole point of this study seems to just malign the selfie and the takers of them. I don't care if you want to take a selfie, or thousands of them. Doesn't bother me in the slightest. Except when they suck as a portrait, but that's a different video for a different day. Look, if you like it, and it makes you feel good, and it boosts your self-esteem, why let other people tell you not to do it? You're not self-involved or egotistical just because you want to show other people how good you think you look today. Don't let others tell you how to live. But be safe. No photo is worth your life. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on Wednesday.